The Chicago Bears have made majority of their moves on the offensive side of the ball. Free agency, it's been a great start for Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson. You know, I love what they've done offensively. 2 receivers, center and Drew Dahlman, trading for Joe Tooney, traded for Jonah Jackson, and then obviously defensively they signed Dayo Odeyingbo and they signed Grady Jarrett. Let's break down some other moves that they could make potentially to, you know, sharpen up this defensive side of the ball. Let's start off with, you know, some of the bigger names. Zadarius Smith, free agent, defensive end, 32 years old, but he's been a consistent pass rusher in this league. 9 sacks last year, 5 with Cleveland, and then 4 with Detroit. He was traded, you know, at the deadline to help Detroit shore up things on that defensive line as Aiden Hutchinson went down. But this is a guy that's played with every NFC North team but the Chicago Bears. So he has familiarity with Ben Johnson too, playing in Detroit last season, and some of these other coaches on the Bears staff currently. But in 2024, 35 tackles, 9 TFLs, and 17 quarterback hits. He could still play. He showed that as a rotational guy, as your 3rd or 2nd best pass rusher. I think that's a great role for him to thrive in. He still can give you 5 to 8 sacks. And with Odeyingbo being the guy that's the future, and Montez Sweat, he would fit in very well with those 2 guys and ease the pressure of you having to, you know, get a defensive end, a pass rusher early at pick 10. And he's got great size to him, solid against the run, fits what Dennis Allen's trying to do with those bigger defensive ends. I think you could sign him for a cheap 1-year or cheap 2-year deal. 69 career sacks from him and a 14.9 pressure rate. This is a pretty productive pass rusher consistently. He's been a guy you could trust to get 10 sacks no matter what destination he's in. Great veteran to add to this defensive line. I think Sweat, Odeyingbo, Grady Jarrett, Dexter, that's a really formidable defensive line. So really like the addition of him, what he can be for us. Graded as the 33rd best edge last season. So he still has a lot left in the tank, and he'd be a great piece to this defensive line with Dennis Allen. And yeah, Dennis Allen could cook up some great things with a pass rush that could get home with just 4 guys. And I think the Bears could do that if they add Zadarius Smith. Matthew Judon is another guy that's similar category with Zadarius Smith. I think Zadarius Smith is more productive. When healthy, Matthew Judon, he was a top 5 pass rusher in the NFL, had 15 sacks, suffered that injury, and they couldn't work things out with the contract, so they went on and traded him to the Falcons. The Bears were in the market to trade for Judon too. We saw that in Hard Knocks, but you know, things didn't work out. They didn't like the price. 5.5 sacks last year from Judon on the Falcons defense line, but that defense line, it was not a good collective group. So I think coming to the Bears with Grady Jarrett, somebody he played with last season, Montez Sweat, Odeyingbo, Dexter, Billings, a good run stopper. He has a lot more support than he would have with the Falcons, and he'd be a great veteran piece to that defensive line, to the Bears defensive line. 4-time Pro Bowler, 9 QB hits last season, 7 TFLs, 41 tackles. As a rotational edge like Zadarius Smith would be, I think he would be a really good piece for this defensive line. He's another big body defensive end that's pretty solid against the run. Fits in very well with what the Bears will try to do. So him and Dio would free up Montez Sweat big time, as with Grady Jarrett and Dexter up the middle. So Montez Sweat would not be getting doubled to the level we saw him get doubled last season. So this move would be a big move. I think the Bears definitely need to be in the veteran pass rusher market, get somebody, another name to bolster this group heading into the draft, so they could go best player available. There's not as much pressure to shore up things with this group. Defensive end, Tano Passano. This is a pass rusher that's worked with Dennis Allen, was with the Chiefs in 2019 when Ryan Poles was there. Was with Dennis Allen for 4 seasons, 30 years old. He's a veteran, solid piece in Dennis Allen's defense. A really good short-term piece for a defense like Dennis Allen's defense. Has strength stopping the run. 3.5 sacks in 2023. 6'7", 289 pounds. The specimen Dennis Allen needs. He can provide that. Dio's huge, and this guy's just as big. You could put him at defensive tackle. You could put him at defensive end. The type of guy that's going to be batting balls down and all that. So this is a really good piece to add for some depth. Even if you get a Judon, even if you get a Zadarius Smith, you can also add him as a rotational guy within the mix too, to bolster this defensive line fully. The Bears could also, bolster their safety group. Having Brisker, he usually misses some time with the concussion. Hopefully he doesn't miss any time this year. He could play 17 games. I think he could be an all-pro level safety if he plays all 17 games. And Kevin Byard. He's an older veteran safety. You need to shore up things behind him. You need another guy. Jonathan Owens is a good rotational guy, good special teams player, but let's add another guy in the mix. Ugo Amadi. This is a safety that's played under Dennis Allen. He was a versatile member of the Saints secondary last season when Paulson Adebo got banged up with his injury. Ugo Amadi filled in beautifully for the Saints. 65 tackles, 7 pass deflections, 2 sacks, playing in 11 games. So this is high quality production from a guy that can play slot corner. He can play safety. He can play all around the defensive secondary. So I think this would be a good addition to the Bears secondary behind Brisker and Byard. And he has familiarity, like I said, with the defense already. Good special teams player too. So this is the guy I would add to help the back end. Would be more on the cheaper side of things, a vet minimum deal most likely, and that's pretty much all the money the Bears have right now as they're, allocating money for their draft picks. The last guy I will look at is Benito Jones, defensive tackle for the Miami Dolphins last year. The last 3 seasons he's played all 17 games, was in Detroit for 2 seasons, 27 years old, still a young player relatively. He fits that kind of mold as an Andrew Billings type of defensive tackle, just a meatball, that tough nose tackle that's going to stop the run. Very solid rotational player. You could fit him behind Grady Jarrett, Billings, because right now, Chris Williams, solid player, but after, Billings, Dexter, Jarrett, and Williams, Zach Pickens is there, but do we trust Zach Pickens that much? So adding another depth piece there, I would like that a lot, especially if it's going to be cheap. And I think Benito Jones provides you that. He blocked a field goal against the Chicago Bears too, so there's familiarity from there. Just a guy that's athletic, even at his size. So I think this would be a great addition to the defense line in this rotation. Let me know if there's some other names down below in the comments, some other defensive players that are available that you would want to add. Let me know your thoughts on the players that I named in this video down below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, peace. But I would want him to get an extension done with, Keenan Allen. I would want him to stay with the Chicago Bears for maybe 2 or 3 more years because he's coming off his best season last year with the Chargers.